Is she ready?
Very ready and confident. Thank you.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his girlfriend.
It is day 2 of the Sean Diddy Combs federal trial. Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, she is one of Combs' many accusers, testifying as a central witness.
She walked in there, Rachel. She had on a brown dress, form-fitting, visibly pregnant, head held high, and did not make any eye contact with the defendant, with Sean Combs. She said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on to the lighting in the room to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with. And again, just to reiterate what is a freak off, the freak off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism, wanting to watch her have sex with someone else. And she said that she did it because she was 22, 21. She was young. She didn't know any better, and that she wanted to please Sean Combs.
Among other things, the singer is expected to address the 2016 video of Combs attacking her in a hotel when she was his girlfriend. Combs has pleaded not guilty. His attorneys argue the video is evidence of jealousy, not sex trafficking. And now for the first time, jurors are hearing what Cassie has to say about that and other aspects of their 10-year relationship.
Welcome back. Let's spill the tea on today's biggest celebrity stories. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to get your daily dose of scandal and glamour. They used to call him a mogul, a kingmaker, the boss of hip-hop. But the second Cassie Ventura stepped up and started spilling in court, all that power, gone. Diddy's whole image, built up for years, just fell apart like it was made of sand. The moment Cassie started talking, his face turned ghost white, and what she said had reporters in that courtroom frozen like statues. The man who built an empire, who ran the industry like he owned every inch of it, was now sitting there looking helpless. Cassie didn't hold back. She exposed everything, and we mean everything, about what allegedly went down when no one was watching. For years, Sean Diddy Combs strutted through the music game like a god. He didn't just run Bad Boy Records, he was Bad Boy. He launched careers, turned rappers into legends, and took the whole brand global. From music to fashion, Ciroc vodka to TV deals, Diddy was everywhere, running the game like a CEO on steroids. On paper, he looked untouchable. The definition of success, the smooth talker in the tuxedo, the mentor with the Midas touch. But that slick image, it was a mask. And now, in that courtroom, the mask is slipping off, fast. While magazines hyped up his business genius and fans screamed his name, there was something dark playing out behind the scenes, something ugly. And if what's being said under oath is true, that polished red carpet smile was hiding straight-up chaos. Cassie Ventura was living in a whole different world behind the scenes, and the contrast hit that courtroom like a bomb. Imagine this, the same guy we've seen rocking custom suits, looking clean-cut, talking smooth on every talk show, suddenly being painted as a completely different person. The Diddy that Cassie described, fans wouldn't even recognize him. He showed up to court on day 2 still flexing that mogul image, tailored up, lawyers flanking him like bodyguards, nodding at folks like it was just another power lunch. He even threw in a few smiles like nothing could shake him. But trust, it didn't last. The second Cassie took the stand and started detailing what really went down in private, everything shifted. Witnesses said it was like watching his soul leave his body. The swagger, gone. That cocky attitude, nowhere to be found. Diddy's entire vibe crumbled in real time. Cassie didn't hold back. She laid out incidents so raw, Diddy's lawyers were jumping up left and right yelling objections like their lives depended on it. But it was too late. You could see it in his face. He was losing grip fast. This man who once ran the charts, the brands, and the boardrooms couldn't even sit still while his ex exposed what really went on. It was the kind of courtroom moment that changes everything, and the look on his face said it all. Witnesses said Diddy looked like he was about to fall apart as Cassie started speaking. The whole power dynamic flipped instantly. He wasn't the boss in that room anymore. All eyes were on him, not her. His face, pale like chalk, like the truth just hit him straight in the chest. First, he tugged at his tie, then his cufflinks, then just sat there messing with his hands like he couldn't sit still. Then came the notes. One after another, Diddy started scribbling wild and tossing them to his legal team. It got so bad, one of his lawyers had to hold up a hand like, "Slow down." Reporters said it was like watching a man realize, for the first time ever, that he wasn't calling the shots anymore. Some said he looked physically sick, and all the while, Cassie sat calm, collected, telling her truth, not yelling, not crying, just laying it out like facts on the table. And that calm, it hit him harder than any scream could. One witness swore they saw him close his eyes over and over, like he couldn't even look at her, couldn't listen either. And this was only the start. As the hours passed, the courtroom found out why Diddy was losing it. Fast. The next allegation Cassie made, it didn't just rattle the room. It threatened to crush the empire he spent his whole life building. This wasn't his story anymore, and for once, he couldn't remix it. When Cassie Ventura stepped up to the stand, the courtroom froze. You could hear hearts pounding. Everyone knew this moment was coming, but no one, not even Diddy's pricey legal team, was ready for what she was about to drop. After years of silence, Cassie finally had the mic, and when she started speaking, she didn't scream or rant. She hit him slow, real slow. That's what made it hit even harder. She took it back to the beginning, when she was just 19, a fresh-faced model chasing dreams. He was already a power player, rich, connected, everywhere. The difference in power? Crazy. And according to Cassie, Diddy played that advantage like a pro. Her voice stayed calm as she peeled back the layers. The little things came first, the quiet control, how he had to know her every move, every friend, every outing, how he'd just show up unannounced like he owned her time. Then it got deeper, darker. Cassie said the control didn't stop at her personal life. It crept into her career. She claimed Diddy would threaten to bury her music if she didn't fall in line, that he'd block collabs with other artists if he felt insecure. Basically, every time she tried to step out of line, he'd pull the strings to shut it down. And this was just the beginning of what she had to say. This was the moment that had the whole courtroom holding their breath. According to the court transcripts, Cassie dropped a bomb. She said Diddy installed tracking software on her phone. She claimed he'd call her within minutes of pulling up somewhere, like he had eyes on her 24/7. That's how tight the grip was. And it didn't stop there. Cassie testified that he slowly started cutting people out of her life. Friends who might have told her to walk away, gone, one by one, until all she had left was him. That isolation, it was no accident. She made it sound like it was by design. The courtroom was so tense, the judge had to bang the gavel 3 different times just to restore order. Diddy couldn't keep his cool. He was shaking his head, muttering to his lawyers, even pulling faces that the jury definitely noticed. Every time the judge warned him, he'd calm down for a few minutes, then go right back to it, like a man used to controlling everything, suddenly realizing he couldn't stop what was happening. Then it happened. The game changer. Cassie handed her phone to her attorney. Suddenly, the big screen lit up with texts and emails, and the entire courtroom saw receipts. Diddy's face shook. He looked like he'd just seen a ghost. He had no idea she'd kept those messages, texts where he allegedly apologized for violence, and even threatened her career if she spoke out. Straight-up evidence that clashed with everything his PR team's been spinning for years. But those text messages, that was just the warm-up. What came next shook the entire room. As Cassie kept testifying, her words took a dark turn. She started describing the physical abuse she says happened during their relationship. You could hear a pin drop. The courtroom froze as she told the jury how she was allegedly thrown against walls during fights. Then came the Miami story. Cassie claimed Diddy pushed her down a flight of stairs at a rented house. People gasped, but it got even more disturbing. She testified that there were times he allegedly choked her until she nearly blacked out, only letting go when she went limp. The room was stunned. Jurors couldn't hide how shook they were. One older woman wiped away tears. A male juror straight up avoided looking at Diddy altogether. That's how intense it got. Even the most hardened courtroom reporters, people who've covered murder trials, said they weren't ready for what Cassie laid out. And all of it was building toward one moment, the incident that would flip this case on its head. Then came the words that made everyone lean in. Her voice cracked as she said it. "I thought I was going to die that night." You could feel it. The whole courtroom held its breath. Something massive was coming, and nobody was ready for what she was about to say next. Cassie started describing a night that nobody had ever heard about. Not the press, not the fans, not even the gossip blogs that dig through everything. The Four Seasons hotel incident had been buried deep for years, and Cassie told the court exactly why. Because she was scared. Scared she'd lose her career. Scared something worse would happen. Scared no one would believe her over someone as powerful as Diddy. But on that witness stand, she let it all out. According to Cassie, it started off like any regular industry after-party. But everything flipped the second Diddy saw her talking to another music exec. His whole vibe changed. The charm? Gone. She said he grabbed her arm so tight it left visible marks, and right there in public, he leaned in and whispered threats in her ear, all while smiling for the crowd. Then came the part that dropped jaws. Cassie testified that Diddy dragged her through the hotel lobby toward the elevators while she cried and tried to pull away. It caused such a scene that hotel security stepped in, but the moment they recognized Diddy, they backed off. She told the court, "He just asked if everything was okay. When Mr. Combs said yes, he walked away. He didn't even ask me if I was okay." Then came the receipts. Cassie's lawyer showed the court photos she took the morning after. Bruises on her arms, a busted lip, red marks around her neck. These weren't staged. They weren't edited, just raw, shaky bathroom mirror pics. And that's what made them hit even harder. Cassie told the court she took those photos because she knew the truth alone wouldn't be enough. She was scared no one would believe her without proof. And right on cue, Diddy's legal team scrambled to shut it down. They threw every argument at the wall, saying the pics weren't verified, claiming they could be from any time, even whining about discovery deadlines. But the judge wasn't having it. Every objection, denied. And then, the photos hit the big screen. The reaction from the jury was immediate. One woman gasped and covered her mouth. Two men straight up turned away, unable to look. In the back, another juror was scribbling in her notebook so fast her hand shook. This wasn't some recycled headline. This was brand new, a hidden incident that nobody saw coming. Diddy's team looked rattled. You could see it in their faces. They didn't have a counter because they had no clue this was coming. And then Cassie kept going. She testified that during that same hotel incident, Diddy threw a champagne bottle at her head. It missed by inches and smashed into the wall. She said he wrecked the hotel room in a violent outburst, broke a lamp, flipped a table, punched a hole through the bathroom door. But the most chilling part? She claimed he kept her trapped in that room for nearly 2 full days, took her phone, threatened her if she even thought about calling for help. That wasn't just a meltdown, it was a total lockdown, and the jury was watching every word. As Cassie wrapped up that brutal part of her testimony, every single person in that courtroom turned their eyes to Diddy. What he did next, that moment right there might go down as the turning point, not just in the trial, but in his entire legacy. This was the scene no one will ever forget. Diddy, the man who built a billion-dollar empire off charm, control, and staying icy under pressure, snapped. Right there, in front of the judge, in front of the jury, in front of the world. The mask didn't just slip, it cracked wide open. And what showed underneath wasn't the polished mogul the world thought they knew. Remember, this is a guy who spent decades crafting the perfect image. Always calm, always in charge, always 10 steps ahead. But as Cassie dropped her most damning claims, that whole image started melting down. Reporters who've sat through the wildest Hollywood trials said they'd never seen anything like it. Diddy didn't just look uncomfortable, he changed. The confident powerhouse who walked into court that morning, gone. What they saw now was a man cornered, shaken, and low-key falling apart. With every word Cassie said, his posture sank, his energy drained. It was like he was shrinking in real time, like every accusation hit harder than the last. And by the end of it, Diddy looked like a man watching his empire crumble in slow motion and not knowing how to stop it. Diddy's legal team was scrambling behind the scenes. According to someone who sat right behind them, his main attorney kept reaching over, putting a hand on Diddy's arm, trying to keep him from exploding. At one point, a lawyer even slipped him a note that reportedly read, "Stay calm," in all caps, but none of it worked. Things got wild. When Cassie started detailing an incident that allegedly went down at Diddy's Hamptons house, he snapped, slammed his hand on the table so hard, the entire courtroom jumped. The echo was loud enough to stop the judge mid-sentence. The judge didn't play around either, straight up warned him, "Mr. Combs, if you can't control yourself, I will have you removed from this courtroom." For a second, it looked like he might actually get tossed from his own trial. All throughout her testimony, Diddy was visibly losing it. Witnesses said he kept shaking his head, mouthing, "That's not true," anytime Cassie dropped something heavy. But here's the thing, he forgot that every move he made was being watched. That jury saw everything. One courtroom insider put it perfectly. He looked like a man who's never been challenged, finally realizing he's not in control anymore. And that shift, you could feel it. For years, Diddy allegedly had the final say in every part of Cassie's life. Now she had the mic. She was telling her side, and no matter how much he panicked, argued, or slammed that table, he couldn't shut her down this time. He couldn't mute her, couldn't send security to shut her down, couldn't run damage control with his PR team. All Diddy could do was sit there and listen, and it was tearing him apart. But the real breaking point hit when Cassie dropped the next bomb. She told the court that Diddy had allegedly threatened her family if she ever spoke about what really happened between them. And just when the room thought it couldn't get any heavier, she revealed something nobody was ready for. She had audio, actual recordings of Diddy's voice making those threats, and her lawyer pressed play right there in court. That's when everything exploded. Diddy jumped out of his seat, pointed straight at Cassie, and shouted, "You know that's not how it happened." His legal team physically grabbed him, trying to drag him back into his chair. It took 3 lawyers to restrain him while he kept yelling, trying to talk over his own voice playing on the courtroom speakers. Chaos broke out. The judge had no choice but to call an immediate recess. But the damage? Already done. Everyone saw it. The jury, the media, the court staff. The man who always stayed composed, always played untouchable, just broke in front of the entire room. And when they escorted him out, he didn't look like a mogul. He looked exposed. The mask was off. And just when people thought Cassie had dropped it all, boom, she hit them with hard evidence. Not even Diddy saw that coming. For years, Cassie had been quietly stacking receipts, texts, emails, photos, all backed up in different places, far from Diddy's reach. He couldn't delete them, couldn't erase the past. And when she revealed that in court, the room went dead silent. But then came the twist that hit like a freight train. Cassie said she had text messages from other celebrities, ones who personally witnessed Diddy's behavior. These weren't nobodies or background extras. According to the court transcripts, these were some of Diddy's closest friends and business partners, people from his inner circle, folks who had seen things go down at exclusive parties, VIP events, and backstage that the public never knew about. And the moment Cassie dropped that bomb, Diddy's whole energy shifted. One person in the gallery said he looked physically sick. His lawyers immediately jumped up, objecting loud enough to shake the walls. They demanded a sidebar, claiming the texts were hearsay, that they weren't filed in time, that they shouldn't be allowed. The judge took the messages into private review and came back stone-faced. He overruled every single objection. He ruled that the texts were highly relevant and would absolutely be entered into evidence. That moment broke something in Diddy. As the judge spoke, Diddy slowly put his head in his hands. He knew what was coming, because one by one, the names behind those messages were about to be revealed, and they weren't just witnesses, they were insiders. Then the screens lit up, with names everyone knew. The courtroom stared as messages from huge celebrities rolled across the monitors. First up, a major rapper who texted Cassie after a Grammy after-party. "You okay? What I saw tonight wasn't right. You can crash at my place if you need to." Next came a message from a well-known pop star. "I've known him for 15 years. I've never seen him act like that. This isn't normal. Please call me." But the one that really shook the room? A longtime producer who's worked with Diddy for decades. He texted Cassie after a studio incident, "I can't be around this anymore. I told him to get help. Call me when you're safe." These messages completely destroyed the narrative Diddy's team had been pushing for months, that nobody had ever witnessed anything, and that Cassie was twisting private moments. But now, the receipts were right there in front of the jury, and it was clear. People had seen things, they were worried, and they tried to help. Then came the most damning part, Diddy's own texts. The court saw a message that read, "I'm sorry about last night. You know how I get when I drink. It won't happen again." Another one said, "Whatever you need to make this right. New car, new apartment, just name it." And then came the chilling offer. "My lawyer can draw up the paperwork tomorrow. $2 million, clean break. You don't talk about anything from the past 5 years." As those messages were read out loud, the room went silent. No one needed to say a word. The evidence was doing all the talking. Something wild happened in the gallery. The crew that rolled in with Diddy that morning, his entourage, his so-called ride or dies, all started slipping out, one by one, quietly. No drama, no scene, just gone. They couldn't sit there any longer, couldn't watch as the receipts kept stacking, couldn't co-sign what was unfolding in real time. By the time that brutal testimony ended, Diddy sat there almost completely alone, just him and his lawyers. That front row show of support, gone like it never existed. The courtroom had changed everything. That evidence, the kind no one saw coming, shook the building to its core. Day 2 wrapped, and the man who strolled into court looking untouchable, with the confidence of a king, left looking finished. Not even the beefed-up security team around him could protect him from what went down inside those walls. This wasn't just about a lawsuit anymore. This was about legacy, power, image, and all of it was cracking. Cassie didn't just speak her truth, she flipped the entire script. She stood up and told the story that Diddy never thought would come out, and she backed it up with receipts the world couldn't ignore. The photos, the texts, the recordings. Now the question isn't, can Diddy win this case? The question is, what's left of him if he loses? And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to stay in the loop with all the latest. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an update, and I'll catch you in the next video.